The cool thing about this treatment, it's a drill called the basic exercise from Stanley Rosenberg. He wrote about it in the book Accessing the Healing Power of the Vagus Nerve, I think is the name of the book. So what the basic exercise is basically the patient is typically lying down in the supine position with their hands under their occiput, elbows slightly forward, and then giving a slight upper cervical nod to open up the suboccipital space there. The nod with your hands there creates this like feeling of a very minimal traction. I will stress, don't do a lot of traction. It's not about the traction. It's about the cervical nod and the length in the back of the neck, the length and space in the suboccipital space. And then what you do is you move your eyes to one side and you wait for a nervous system response, a parasympathetic nervous system response. That's sometimes like a deep breath, sometimes a sigh, sometimes a swallow. Everybody's a little bit different. And it can take some time. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes I'll have people wait like 30 to 60 seconds for a response before kind of giving up on it. And you can go eyes to one side, you can go eyes to the other side. It doesn't really matter which side you do. You can do both. The theory or the reasoning behind it is you're using the relationship between the eye muscles and the suboccipitals. So if you don't know that relationship, there is a relationship between the medial and lateral muscles of the eye and their role in focusing our eyes and turning our head, right? Wherever our eyes go, our head usually goes. And so the movement of our head is dictated or controlled by the suboccipital muscles, some of them. I mean, there's more of them, right? But the suboccipitals are very directly linked to your eyes. And so this eye movement stimulates a like isometric contraction, right? Because we're not letting our head move, just our eyes are going, but so it's basically an isometric contraction of the suboccipital muscles. And that those muscles originate in the area of the cranium between the cervical spine and the occiput. In that area is a foramen called the jugular foramen. The jugular foramen contains vagus nerve, accessory nerve, and arteries, veins, right? So it's like a really important foramen. Basically, the theory with this exercise is that isometric contraction is almost as like a contract, relax in the area to open the space in that area of the jugular foramen to allow better blood flow and neural flow, cerebral spinal fluid flow. It's also like right at the myodural bridge there. So all of that helps to facilitate a parasympathetic response and downregulate the nervous system. Downregulate the nervous system by upregulating the blood flow, the vagus nerve input, the accessory nerve, right, which share some common connections, anastomosis is in the nervous system and areas of the brainstem. So the other thing it does, that motion, because looking to the side, obviously the side you're looking at, that same eye, would be lateral rectus. That's cranial nerve 6 controls that. Cranial 6 is the abducens nerve. The other eye is going medially. That's ocular motor nerve, cranial nerve 3. Cranial nerve 3 is also a parasympathetic nerve. So the clinical reasoning behind that exercise is interesting because it's like, what's really happening? Don't really know. Is it really a changing of the neural flow or the blood flow at the jugular foramen from the position, from the isometric contraction, from a muscle energy technique thing? Is it just the cervical nod portion of that opens up that space and gives a little stretch on the dura? Is it the hand placement? So here's another thing. The hand placement on the occiput is potentially stimulating or affecting the greater occipital nerves. And the greater occipital nerves, the nerve of Arnold and the lesser occipital nerve in that area also have a recurrency back into the cranium and innervate the meninges, the tentorium. And so we also could have a reflexive effect of cranial flow, decreased cranial tension from just that stimulation of our hands. Or is it this parasympathetic response with the ocular motor nerve? At the end of the day, I don't think there's a way to determine exactly what is the mechanism that's happening with the basic exercise. But as you can see, as I describe, it has potential for a lot of rich inputs that can have a direct effect on the autonomic nervous system and the central nervous system. Now, if you don't realize there's a difference between the autonomic nervous system and the central nervous system, I'm going to refer you back to another episode of the podcast that I've done. I'll have Joe link it in the show notes when I talk about the nuances between the two.